Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna kind of do a talk through I want you to count how many times I say kind of in this video, because after I went back and looked at all of my videos that I've done so far, I think I said kind of like 700,000 times. I have no idea why, but anyways, I have a couple people who want to see a brown smoky eye look, so I'm gonna do this video for them and anybody else who wants to see how to do a brown smoky eye. And I'm also gonna do a walkthrough of how I do the rest of my face. So I'm gonna start with, I already washed my hands and I didn't prime my face. I moisturized my face already. So then I'm going to use this e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. I'm just gonna take a little bit of it and rub it on my skin. My eyes are a little stained from the shadows that I used yesterday because they were purple. I use a little bit extra where my pores are because it helps fill in the pores a little bit. All right. As you can see, my skin is really red. So I normally will take a green color corrector and go over that to cancel it out. But this foundation is awesome. It's by Juvia's Place. It's called the I Am Magic Foundation. And it's super full coverage. It is matte. I am not really a fan of matte foundations because they usually tend to dry my skin out, but this one I'm a huge fan of. Sorry that I keep looking like it looks like I'm not talking to you guys, but I'm looking at myself in the screen and the lens is way over on the other side, so I need to get used to looking into that instead of the actual screen. So I'm just going to take a little bit to start out with. It is super full coverage and it's buildable. So I'm just going to start, and this is a wet Morphe sponge, damp I should say. You want to make sure that when you squeeze it there's no water coming out. And then I just pounce this into my skin. Make sure my light's all the way up. It is. So I'm just going to press all the way around. And I really like this one because it's not drying at all. It dries so velvety. And look how full coverage it is. Love it. I love full coverage foundation. Clearly because my face is super red. And this covers it right up. I always have a hard time getting my nose ring area. And I'm just pressing this in. I'm not rubbing it, I'm just stamping it. And I get my ears and my neck to make sure everything matches. I'm gonna just add a tiny bit more. I have a tiny bit of redness poking through and a little bit on my nose that I still want to get, so mostly put it right here. All right, now that that is all set, I'm going to be using the Morphe concealer. I am in the color C1.25. I love this concealer, honestly. Oh my goodness. For me, the only thing I don't really like about it is the applicator. It's a little small than what I'm used to, but the formula is great. For me, it's super full coverage. And it seems to blend in well with almost every foundation. Well, actually, it has blended in well with every foundation I've ever used. Sometimes formulas can be weird together. And I just put that under my eyes, on my T-zone, and under my lips, on my chin. And some people put it above their lips right here. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. That piercing sometimes gets in the way. And then I'm just using the same sponge and tapping that in as well. Okay, now that's all blended in. You can see how it covered up dark circles under my eyes, and it actually helped brighten areas that I wanted brightened. It looks a little bit scary without eyeshadow and bronzer and everything else, I'm not gonna lie. So you want to go ahead and just go back in and make sure that everything is pressed into all the creases, because then you're going to take a setting powder. I use the Jeffree Star Magic Star setting powder. This is the color Rose. I take some and I just put some in the cap, and I take the same sponge, going in one more time, just making sure everything is in place so it doesn't crease. I'm going to take a tiny bit of powder and I'm just going to press that into my under eye area. I also take some and kind of press it onto my cheeks. Everywhere that I place the concealer, I'm going to set. And then I'm going to take a large powder brush. This is the Spectrum 801. Just a big fluffy powder brush, and I'm just going to take what's left in the lid here, and I'm going to just quickly go over and lightly set the rest of my face. Okay. Now for eyebrows, I'm going to use ABH Dip Brow. This is in the color dark brown. This is a pomade. Mine is very old, and I probably need a new one at this point. And I'm going to use the Anastasia, I'm sorry, I always say it wrong, Beverly Hills brush that came with it. I don't even know if it came with it actually. I might have bought it separate, but it doesn't even have anything on it anymore. Everything is totally rubbed off. So what I do is I just take a little bit of the product, I dip it on my brush, and I kind of start, there's kind of again, I start right near the beginning of my brow, but not all the way, because I don't want the product to be too pigmented there, but it looks cakey when I blend it out. And I draw a line straight back, and then I do the same on this side. Then I'll take that and kind of drag it, I don't understand why I say that so much. And do it on both sides so it's a much lighter line up in the front. I'm going to put some more product on my brush, and I'm going to start midway here as well. I'm going to draw, and then I kind of shape a little, oh my god, see, now I'm catching myself after I watched my last video. So I draw myself a little arch. You can see that that's not where my eyebrows go up to, but that's where I make my eyebrows go. And I can never do it exactly the same, but I try. Then I'm going to take what's left on my brush. I'm not putting any more product on my brush, and I'm just going to brush that in. All that product goes a long way. And then I'm going to take what's left, and I'm going to start from the bottom and slightly feather up to work that product in. And there's still no extra product on my brush. I'm just using what was on it. and you can always go in with a concealer after and clean it up. I tend to just leave it this way. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And like I said, you can take another brush, and you can, an angled brush, the same brush, whatever you want, take some concealer and kind of carve those out to make them nice and fine, I guess you could say. But I just usually leave them like this. I don't really care that much. Then I move over to a brow gel, and I'm using Revolution Pro. This is the Volume, I think, Volume and Sculpt. Yep, and it's in the color dark brown. And so the way I do this is I start on the tails of my brow, because it always has a lot of product on the brush when you first take it out, and I don't want it to be too harsh in the front, same that I did with the pomade. So I take it and I run it through the tail. Same thing with the other side. And now that most of the product is wiped off, then I'll go in and start doing the front. Bam. Sisters, guys, not twins. They're never gonna look the same. And I've just learned to deal with it. Okay, so that's it for brows. So moving on to eyeshadow, I did put concealer on my lids just because it always gets up there anyways, and I have just learned not to care at this point. And I'm going to use a primer. You can just use the concealer, set the concealer with the powder, and I used to do that and it worked pretty well. This concealer, I noticed that it creases if I keep it as a primer for some reason. I don't know why. So I take a primer and I use Too Faced 24-Hour Shadow Insurance, and I just take a tiny little bit on my finger and I'll put it over it. And when I'm done, I'll take some more setting powder and just dab it over this to set it. You could leave it tacky as well. For me, I've noticed that with this primer anyways, it will crease if I don't set it for some strange reason. And that's even if there's no concealer under it, it's always creased on me for some reason. But a lot of people do like it tacky, so you can. I'm going to use my same sponge with the same powder, and I'm going to stamp that in. Okay. Now, for eyeshadow today, I'm going to use the, excuse how dirty this is, it's stained, and I promise you I tried to get it off, but it won't come off. Yeah, anyways, this has seen better days. You can tell that I've used this palette. This is the original Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. I think what I want to do first is go in with these two colors right here, and I apologize, I don't know where my shade name card went, so when I edit this video, I will put them on the sides for you guys, so you guys know which colors I'm using. This is a JS9, and I'm going to take these two colors and mix them together. And I'm going to swipe this color back and forth in my crease. My brushes are a little stained from yesterday because I used purples. Yeah, you can clearly tell there's still some left, even though I tried to get it off. Back and forth windshield wiper motions, and sometimes I do small little circles as well. And this is just our transition shade. This is going to be the color that is peeking out from, this is the lightest color we're going to have. So later on we're going to build and put dark colors underneath this. So this kind of fades out in the top and it's lighter than everything else, if that makes sense. Okay, so now that that's down, I'm going to go in with a darker brown. So I'm going to use this color right here. I'm going to use the same brush. I'm going to take that and I'm just going to go a little lower. And I'm going to blend that into the crease. And I'm taking that a little tiny bit below where I put the first shade. And that's going to deepen our crease. Still using the same brush. Okay, so I think I want it a little bit darker. So I'm going to take some of this color right here, and I'm going to mix it with a tiny bit of this one. Put that right over top. All right, so now that you've gone back and forth and you have it the way you want it, I'm going to take the same brush and I'm going to go back into these first two shades that we used in the beginning. Tap off the excess and very lightly, I'm holding the brush at the very end, very light pressure. I'm going to go over top and just do little circles up over top of everything to blend it out. Okay, now that everything is blended out the way you want it, we can always go back in later on and blend it out a little bit more. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Morphe M433 brush. This is like a little flatter, better for packing on colors. So I'm actually going to take this dark brown color right here, and I am going to start packing that on to my outer corner. I kind of just try to transition it out there so it's not so harsh. Just going back in and deepening up that outer edge till I get it the way I want it. All right, so now that that's done, it does look a little harsh and unblended right now, but I'm going to firstly go back in with that first brush that I was using, and I'm going to lightly brush over top of that. I know there's a lot of blending involved in this, but that's what happens when you're using dark colors, or any colors ever. You have to blend a bunch to get everything to transition nice together. And there's no product on this brush. I'm just going in and running over top of everything. Okay, so now for the cut crease, the part everybody loves. I'm using the Naked Skin Concealer, and you can use whatever concealer you have. This is just what I like to use for my cut creases. And I'm honestly just going to take this cream shadow brush. It's by Unique. And I'm just going to take some concealer and put it right on it. And then I'm going to start in my inner corner, and I'm not great at this, so it's very hard. It takes a lot of practice. but you're just gonna wanna, oh, too much, girlfriend. I put way too much on my brush. And I go a little higher than my actual lid because I have hooded eyes. So I just take this brush and I just gently and slowly start to cut my crease. So I'm going to only go midway here. So it should look a little something like this. And then, before that dries down, I'm going to take, ooh, so this palette doesn't have a matte color. So I'm just going to take a tiny bit of my setting powder. And you can use whatever little shadow brush you have. This is a Wet n Wild one. And I'm just going to stamp that onto my crease so that it's set. Bam. Okay, now that the crease is cut, I am going to take the same brush that I was using, which is, this is a Wet n Wild small concealer brush, and I'm going to use a little bit of Smashbox primer water. You can use regular water, setting spray, anything you want, but I'm just going to spray that brush because I feel like it helps metallics come out a little more pigmented. Now I'm going to use this gold right here, and I'm going to take my brush, tap off the excess, and I'm going to place that gold right where we cut our crease. All right, so now we have the shimmer done on the eyes, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this Morphe brush that we use to pack the dark brown shadow on, and I'm just gonna take a tiny bit more of that, and I'm just going to slightly pat over where that color ends so that we have a transition from brown to gold. You know what? I might use I'm going to use the JS 13. The brush is a little smaller, a little more packed, so I'm going to take that and slightly, there we go. And I'm going to do the same thing on that other eye. Just taking this little brush, trying to blend out that harsh line a little bit better. Taking a tiny bit more brown on the Morphe brush. On the camera, it's reading a lot lighter than it really looks, which is kind of odd, but all right. So now I'm going to take a fluffy brush with nothing on it. All this has on it is a stain from yesterday's eyeshadow. This is the Morphe JS5. Nothing on it, clean. Actually, I'm going to dip into a little bit of translucent powder. You can use whatever you want, and I'm just going to run this over the edge just to help that blend a little bit better. There, see? And I'm going to take a tiny bit more of this gold color on my finger this time. And I'm going to pack that on and slightly blend into the brown. Okay, now I'm going to take this. I'm using the cream brush that I used for my cut crease. I got all the concealer off of it, and I'm going to take this shade right here, and I'm going to just pop that under the brow bone. I love this brush for a brow bone highlight. Then I'm going to go back in with that small pencil brush that I was using. This is the JS13. I'm going to take these two colors that we used in the beginning, mix them together, and I'm going to run this under my lower lash line. Okay. Then I'm going to go in with this one and this one. Blend that under as well. I like to really smoke it out. Like this. Then I'm going to take a brown eyeliner. This is the Urban Decay 24-hour glide-on liner in the shade Demolition. This is really, really small. I use this a ton. Going to pop that in the lower lash line. Okay. And then I'm going to take a definer brush. This is the Morphe M432. And I'm going to take these dark two shades right here, and I'm kind of using this to set that eyeliner as well as blending it underneath the lower lash line. I know I'm being really extra now, guys, and this turned into like really crazy, but I'm going to take a small little, so I'm just using that Morphe brush that has nothing on it again, so I'm trying to just blend that out. And normally I would do this all way before I did my highlight up here and everything, but I didn't realize this is what I was going to do. But do you see how it's a little patchy right here? I'm going to take a small little packer brush. This is the JS, what is your name? JS10. Gonna go back in with these two colors that I just used just to kind of deepen it there. Yep, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I don't like patchy. I don't. Switching back to that Morphe M33. Blending on top of where I put that dark brown. Trying to make it not so harsh, but I think we made it very harsh. Oops. Brush with nothing on it, blending it out, taking a tiny little bit of the two transition colors I used in the first place and blending that over top. Yes, that made it so much better. Yeah, I like that though. Doesn't look bad. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've ever used black in an eyeshadow look before. It scared me a little bit. Okay, really quickly. I know you guys are probably like, what the hell, Nikki? It's turned into like a almost simple look to a not so simple look, but I'm using a fluffier brush. This is the JS12. Going back in one more time with those two transition colors. And I'm lightly feathering over the top just to really blend that out. You guys don't have to deepen this all the way. I just really like depth in my outer corner and I wasn't getting it before. And that really looks patchy. But from far away, it looks good. No, I mean, it doesn't look that patchy in person. I don't know why the light's picking it up that way. I think that's as blended as we're gonna get it. And I'm going back in with that gold one more time. There, I like that much more. I'm gonna go in and just place a tiny bit more of that highlight because I feel like I lost it a bit. And then I'm going to take a small little Real Techniques accent brush and I'm going to go into this first shade here and I'm going to pop that into my inner corner. Okay, I think that's it for shadow though. Now I'm gonna do a wing really fast. So I'm gonna use the Physicians Formula Eye Booster pen and I just draw a line straight up and then I connect it and just draw straight down. And then I just fill it in. I'm going to be really extra right now. And I'm going to take a NYX Liquid Crystal Liner. I'm just going to take this and brush right over top of where I cut my crease to define it and make it pop. mascara. I'm going to put some falsies on off camera so that I don't bore you guys to death. But I will finish the rest of my face first. Okay. And for bronzer, my favorite lately has been the Benefit Hula bronzer right here. And I'm using my Spectrum brush, wherever that went. Oh, excuse me, I just burped. Spectrum, no, it's not Spectrum. It's a Luxie brush. Luxie 514 blush brush, but I really like it for applying my contour. So I'm going to take a tiny bit of that Hula bronzer and I'm going to apply it way up here, if you will, because I feel like it just lifts your face up more if you do it higher on your cheekbones than it would if you did it lower. I'm going to apply some right here on my temples. And I'm going to apply some underneath my jaw. Okay. You can do your nose if you want. I don't usually do that. I just leave it the way it is. For blush, I'm going to be using a Spectrum A05 brush. This is a blush brush, and I've just mixed these two together. This is Coralista in Dandelion. Starting on the apples, if you smile, right here is where your apples of your cheeks are, and then pull it back. And then I take a tiny bit. I run it with the bronzer. And then I just take a tiny bit, what's left on the brush, and run it over my nose. And for highlighter today, I'm going to be going into my Jaclyn Hill palette. This is very used, clearly. You can tell I've hit pan on Champagne Pop. And I'm using my Morphe M510 brush, and I'm going to mix Champagne Pop and Prosecco Pop together. You can spritz your brush when you do this as well. Some on the tip of my nose. I usually do it here, a little here, and Cupid's bow. Okay, now at this point I would normally set my face. I'm just going to do it anyways, even though I still have to put my lashes on. So I'll put some lashes and lipstick on, and I will meet you guys back here with the finished look. Once it dries, of course, and I can shut the camera off. This looks great, doesn't it? It actually feels really good, though. So this is how everything turned out. I just added the lashes, and for my lips, I'm wearing Jeffree Star's Mannequin. You can do whatever type of lip you want with this look, really, though, because brown is pretty neutral. But anyways, I'm sorry that it got a little... This is what always happens when I do my makeup. That's why it takes me so long, because I start doing something, and then I'm like, no, this isn't enough. This isn't enough. I need to add more and more and more and more and more, and then you end up with something that takes you an hour and a half. But You don't have to make it last an hour and a half. You can do whatever you want to do. This is just the basics of it. You can use any palette you want. I chose to use this Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette because you get 39 shadows and the price point is not bad at all. It's much cheaper than many other brands, and the quality is just amazing. I love Morphe, so you can't beat it. Alright guys, so I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and you can also click that little bell down there too if you want to be notified when I post new videos. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Bye-bye!